Hello, everybody. Welcome to Steam It Talk. I am your host, Winston Wolfe.
Hello, everyone. I'm Gifted Gaia.
Hello, everyone. I am Quantum Anomaly.
And I'm Psycho Chica.
Awesome.
I'm happy to be here tonight. It's episode number 4.
Woohoo!
Episode number 4. We made it somewhere. I don't know where we are.
Tornado.
We did survive the meat tornado, and we came out the other side with Scotch eggs.
You were supposed to be looking for recipes for that. What'd you find?
I found a lot of recipes on meat tornadoes.
Tornadoes.
Yeah, which is spelled the same way and not the same thing. So I think I'm going to come up with my own invention. It may be a little bit before I do it. It'll be one of those surprise things once everybody's forgotten about it and the joke is really old. I'll like barge in with the door. I'll be like, I made meat tornadoes.
Except you're going to call it the Carnivornado.
Yeah, that it will be a Carnivornado for sure.
It was mentioned earlier, Scotch eggs, and I'm going to start there because you brought some delicious Scotch eggs over, and my life is 2% better because of that.
Only 2?
It's got a lot of life.
Sliding scale.
200?
It was worth 200 delicious Scotch eggs to me.
Oh, my.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, they're fun to make, and I definitely enjoy them, and they're pretty cheap. And they're fried and greasy and meaty and delicious.
I agree with that.
So
thank you everybody for joining with us, and just kind of wanted to say thank you to everybody because as you can hear, we all sound a little better this week. We got some new gear, and that is thanks to the Steam that collectively we've all earned on our own, and as well for the podcast, and so we've got some new gear. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, no, seriously, your upvotes are a return on investment to yourself. Your participation in our podcast is what has helped us make a better podcast. And so, you get to enjoy it. We get to enjoy it. It's fun to make, and everybody profits from it. So,
and it's that community sense, like we talked about last week, just Steam It feeling more, social network / community of people. And the money aspect obviously enhances your wallet. And we decided instead of going to the bar, that we were going to go ahead and buy some microphones and some stands and just try to make this a better production value for you. So you've enjoyed it, and we're going to try to make it better. So thank you. That's good teamwork.
So you may not have gone to the bar, but we're bringing the bar to us. We're drinking some lovely drinks this evening. And actually, what do you got going on over there?
Okay, so I always mispronounce this, and everybody makes fun of me, but, somebody say that.
Lagunitas.
That's the one.
He keeps saying La Quinta. That's a hotel.
Well, there may be reasons for that. So this is a very delicious one. It's called the Maximus. It's an IPA. Very, very hoppy. It's got a very sweet taste on your tongue, and it is rocking an 8.2% by volume label. So.
8.2%.
But still so sweet. It's delicious.
And we're just getting started this evening. How many of those do you plan on having by the time we're done?
We'll see where the evening goes. I mean, we're all adults here. This is my first, so...
I hope we're all adults. I mean, we're all adults in this room. I don't know about anybody on the other side of this microphone.
That's true. It is the internet.
No, but they're not drinking,
That's true.
And we're not selling them.
We don't encourage that you drink, but if you do, enjoy yourself.
Right.
And since you put me on the spot, that's back at you. What you got over there?
I have some double bean blonde Schlafly from St. Louis, and it's very, very tasty.
Yum.
Very tasty.
All right, we'll come full circle here.
Yeah, so I'm chilling on the tail end of a blue moon. I started a little bit earlier.
It looks like the white.
It is the white, actually, and the white is one of the ones that I'm not a beer guy, guys. I drink most. This is like about as high class of beer as I drink.
No, that's good stuff, man.
I like Blue Moon.
Yeah.
I don't like a lot of the hoppy flavor. I don't like a lot of like IPAs and pale ales and stuff. And Blue Moon's about as close as I'll get to that kind of thing. But I like really watered down beer. I have terrible taste like that.
What's in that blue can you got over there that you're not telling anybody about?
Wonderful little blue can. That's
Looks
my
like
blue can.
NASCAR sponsorship.
I have drank worse blue cans, so.
I'm just drinking sweet tea.
All right. Well,
real high class today.
Cheers to everybody listening. This round's for you.
Clink.
And, we talked about the gear, and that was all part of my Steam It experience as far as we did the podcast. And within the last week, these boxes showed up by mail, and now we're doing another podcast. So as far as those experiences go, what was your experience last week, Winston Wolf, on Steam It? What changed? Let's just start there. Is there anything that's changed on Steam It since the last time we did a podcast?
Well, last week we talked about reputation points, which everybody was all happy to have gotten their awesome one-digit reputation points. I had a 7. A couple of people in here had a 6. And then, what was it, last Tuesday, they just went freaking haywire, and everybody dropped 2 points. And then
everybody dropped 2 and then multiplied by a power of 10 and a fraction.
Something, yeah. So I started with a 7. I had a 5 for all of about an hour, and then I shot up to 59.
Yeah, I think I'm a 41 now. I might be on the cusp of 42. I started posting a little bit more actively this week, so.
And we were all being official about, now, here's the way the new reputation points work now. And then they completely throw us this curveball.
Psych.
Yeah, like, no, guys, this is not how it's going to work. It's just how we're going to make you think it works for a week.
I kind of like it a little bit better, though, because a one-digit sliding scale between, 0 and 9 is, I don't know. I like a two-digit scale. There's a little bit more expansive breadth of where you can be.
And I mean, what's the reason they did that? What's better about a double-digit scale versus, let's say, just the number 6 I was, and now I'm a 45?
Because you're not a 6.2, you're a 62.
Well,
I see.
There's some things about that, too. I noticed there was something that I believe Dan the Man posted just a few days ago talking about how on a truly, I think he said democratic system, you can't have negative values.
Right.
You can only have as far down as a 0, somebody who has no value. But we can talk about that shortly, because that's an interesting post I think would be interesting to talk about a little bit later. But what were you about to say, Psycho Chica?
Well, I mean, to some degree, we talked about how, having it on a scale of 0 to 100 versus basically, 20, negative 99, gives you that finer granularity. But think of it at the same time as far as the psychology behind an MMO of, I went up a level.
Right.
Right.
You get that much more. You see, it's the progress, that gratification.
Instead of 4 to 5 taking months, it can take a few weeks to get from, or all week. If you work really hard, you go 41 to 42, and then you can start moving up the chain.
Or you get hit gold and suddenly go from 45 to 64. Maybe that won't ever happen to somebody.
I didn't I go from 4 to 11 for a little bit?
No, you started as an 11. There was a glitch that showed everybody as a 1 as an 11 until they posted something or replied to something, and then suddenly they were a 2. That was interesting. I was like, how did Brett get an 11? He hasn't even been here but 45 minutes.
They just know.
Yeah. So what else has changed on Steam It this week? Has there been any other technical changes? And I ask because I've kind of had a crazy week where I've been lurking. I almost completely have stepped away from what was a roaring Facebook page as far as activity goes. And in the time that I've been away from that, I've pretty much been just lurking on Steam It. And as opposed to me adding some new content, I think I made a few posts, but I haven't really gone wild this week with my trying to get myself out there. I've actually spent my time reading other people's stuff, and I'm typically not that way. I mean, I feel like I'm a contributor, not necessarily somebody that's going to go back and engross myself in the reading that's there, but there's enough content there that was quality enough to actually pull me in and actually create that. I keep saying actually, maybe that's...
I think it's...
No, that's cool. That's this week's drinking game.
Apparently.
No, I think there's a funny flip-flop there, because on Facebook, you are more of a producer of content. We talked numerous times about the number and quality of your posts on Facebook. I was mostly a consumer of content. I would go there to see what other people were doing and to read your posts and stuff. On Steam It, I have been much less active reading because I don't know, I feel like I've just been under content overload. Everybody's posting so many cool things that I've just stepped away and been like, that's great that you found that, but I don't have the brain power to absorb it right now. But contrary, I've been producing a lot more. I've been writing a lot of stuff and kind of experimenting in different avenues of self-expression and self-discovery, and really kind of looking at myself and putting myself out there. And I think that that's a really interesting, sort of dichotomy that we've gone through there.
Sure. And I mean, just in that putting yourself out there and expressing yourself, I saw a fitness series that started this week. So,
yeah, I've been showing my fat ugly white body off to everybody, And
I look at that as your motivation. You're showing off your motivation to everyone.
well, and notice I only did that for the first 3. I just shot and edited and posted workout number 5 today and posted that, and I think I've kind of found my gym clothes choice there, because for the first 3 days it was no shirt, and I think that was probably I should be embarrassed about those first 3 days.
You absolutely should not be.
No, that's a huge
absolutely.
And congratulations on day 5.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
I can't not do it now. Somebody was telling me, "Oh yeah, I don't mean to make fun of him. I'm not." But somebody was telling me the other day, they were like, "If you do something for 30 days, it'll be just part of your routine. You won't be able to get rid of it. It's like
Absolutely.
forgetting your wallet. You'll know it." And
It's just changing your habits.
Yeah,
we
exactly.
talked about that last time.
Well, and I think you're already bringing yourself anything. Gee, talk about consuming content. So at work, I've taken more than my fair share time perusing through a bunch of Jenna Marbles old stuff. I don't know who else.
yeah,
Anyway, so but she puts herself out there occasionally where she's just like, and I'm gonna embarrass myself, but I'm going to do it because that makes me accountable. And when I say it and when I put it on the internet, I can't take it back. Now I'm accountable for what I've put out there. And if I say that I'm going to do something, now I have to do it.
that is a huge a huge thing of it. Is I've put it out there in front of, as far as I know, 50 or 60,000 people, and if I fall short, if it's like, oh, I hit day 6, guess what? I quit. Yeah, I'm going to be the biggest bitch of Steam It, and I'm not going to be that guy. So I'm going to keep going.
I will never forgive you.
Yeah.
I mean, just on a personal level.
No, I appreciate that.
We've known each other a long time, and it's nice to see you shift over into that mode. So,
Yeah, so here, clank this beer with me so I can undo everything I've done this week.
a little celebration is warranted. I mean, you're not
Yeah,
training
that
for
was
a
a
fight.
real clank. That was not a sample sound.
It's not a title fight.
I think for me, one of the more exciting things this last week was remember how we were talking about categories and what to call them?
Yes.
I
Oh,
think
yeah.
Steam Zones is the official name for until someone tells us otherwise.
Steam Zones. Didn't Bleep Coin say that?
Yeah, it was Bleep Coin.
Nice. And we were lacking on our
There went
terminology.
that blue can. There went the blue can.
Lay off my blue can.
We were lacking on the terminology for that. I like Steam Zones. I think that's perfect.
Well, I think that's what we're going to call them from now on, Steam Zones. What Steam Zone was that in, you know?
Well, and it kind of gives you that option to break it down later if you need more refinement.
Well, and you can.
Oh my God.
What happened there?
I don't know.
It's almost like somebody made a signal and they wanted that to happen.
I did not.
I-
I did
that
not
is-
make eye contact with that.
Somebody
signal.
got the Holy Ghost.
Yes. Somebody bring me a blue can.
That's my blue can. You don't get my blue can,
You
God.
see, guys, I told you. We updated our gear, and now we have special effects, and suddenly God can be in the room anytime we want.
I apologize for the special effects.
I don't even remember what I was signaling
No,
for.
so
now.
I was going to say, just being able to shorten it to zones. What zone was that in? Is nice. It flows
Oh, yeah.
well. It feels right.
Yeah.
This community of zones.
One other thing I kind of realized this last week is how much I enjoy those posts that people do as far as like featuring others.
Yes.
So like, here's 3 or 4, however many. There is a Team Leibniz. We're going to pronounce his name correctly
Yes.
in this one. He's put out a couple of the Minnow reports. They're kind of a group typically of smaller Steam Zone or Steam Power holders, but this last one, if you don't know Renee Nouveau already, just check her out. Drunk makeup tutorial on top of the recipes.
And she's in the chat room a lot, too. You need to go to the chat room.
And there was also, let me pull his name back up so I don't mess this up this week. He basically, we've all put out those guides to Steam It and things like that. This guy's name is actually Steam It, but like the game platform Steam, STEM.
Or EAM, right?
EAM.
Yeah.
Sorry, thank
No,
you.
you're fine.
Like actual water steam.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he actually illustrated it very, very entertaining. Like, it's nice to actually have a little picture of Wang in an introductory post.
I see.
Um,
And we'll tag that so everybody can see what we're talking about.
and there was actually one other, Vera Lynn actually had a couple of women in Steam It posts that I know she's talked about are also going to include men at some point. But right now it's, kind of nice to be able to pull some of the featured women together. But that's also what exposed me to Laura Lemons. That's just a phenomenal writer on there. I highly recommend just checking those out. And honestly, if you make others as far as featured pages or find others, it's really quite helpful to just put them on the forum or just places for people to find.
Well, and one thing that I really like to see is you bring up a good point there about promoting others is in the Steam It promotion channel of chat. It's okay to promote somebody else's post, you know, like it's, if you find something that's cool, put it in there, like, and say, hey, this isn't my post, I found this, or, you know, somebody else's post, I really like it, and you know, throw that person a bone, you know.
Those actually catch my eye a little more when it's someone posting somebody else's stuff.
Right, like everybody likes their own stuff.
Oh, of course.
I tend to like the things I post. I like those kind of topics. That's why I post them.
The only things I've been posting lately are those workout videos, and I will like posting those here in about a month and a half.
Well, okay, so let's. That's what your experience was this week, I would guess. You've probably interacted with Steam It in a way more so with those, and personally with yourself, like just getting over that hump of now you're exercising. You shared that, so I'd have to say that was your podium experience this week on Steam. Is that fair, Steam?
It was, and I got to give a big shout out to Luke Stokes. He was the one who actually he made a post about trying to fill in the fitness zone a little bit more on Steam It. Zone. I properly used the word zone for the first time in this show. I'm going to take credit for that.
All right.
And I was
absolutely,
actually. And
Everybody take a shot.
Everybody take a shot. But no, he was talking about filling in the fitness zone a little bit more on Steam It, and I was like, yeah, you know, I haven't really, you know, worked out in 20 years. You know, maybe I could be the first before and after. And it turns out I'm actually doing it. Didn't mean for that to happen this week, but I guess that's what is going on from now on until further notice.
Did you notice, like, I mean, just like me personally, like, break down what happened in your mind? Was it just like, was it a sense of guilt, or was it just like was it more inspirational? Like, what teed you off to that moment where you're like, I am going to work out?
Well, honestly, I think that was just kind of the last straw for me, just sort of that last little piece of motivation. That
like, was it your own comment, kind of you having to hold yourself where you're like, hey, maybe I could do this, and then you're like...
it was a combination of a bunch of things, and I've actually got a declaration post. I've got 5 workout videos, but all before that first workout video, I posted a declaration post.
Okay, because I've actually been surprisingly following you more on YouTube, because I have a lot better access at work to that.
Well, and your workout videos show up in my YouTube.
Yeah, they show up in my stream. So.
I'm going to start unlisting those, so the only place they can be seen is in Steam It.
No. Sure.
Yeah.
It's motivation, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not so much like you getting over the hump of putting what you described as your fat body on Steam It earlier, shirtless man on Steam It.
Well, the fact that I feel that way is part of my motivation too. Anyway, you were saying.
Well, I just feel like I kept saying motivation, but I mean, it's just, again, I think the fascinating thing here is that website and something that somebody said on that community, or in that community, is what prompted this, when every other trigger in the past 20 years didn't.
Okay, yes, and there have been many triggers, especially just like in the last year. Me and Jazzy Fish have been talking about. I mean, Jazzy Fish she's my wife, and we've been talking about how, you know, crappy we feel on the regular, and, you know, we need to start working out. You know, our backs are hurting, blah blah blah. You know, and I'm going to come around full circle to something I just thought of too, but. I finally started thinking to myself, okay, I feel anxious every day for no reason, usually right before I go into work. And it just builds and builds and builds, and then I have to go to work. And then, you know, so I was like, all right, so maybe if I started working out, I can take out some of that anxiety on that. So far on day 5, I'm right. So far, I feel way better. A lot of things that I grunted to do before last week, even just getting up off the floor, I'm not grunting to do it anymore. I'm actually doing it. But... Jazzy Fish and I live kind of on a corner of this intersection, and no sidewalks anywhere. Well, about 2 weeks ago, they built brand new sidewalks, as if to say, hey, guys, you got new sidewalks. If you want to go for a walk, you can totally go for a walk. Let's go for a walk. So we've got these new sidewalks that are taunting us every day. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this.
God, I'm begging for sidewalks to be installed in there. Our neighborhood has these like patchwork sidewalks that go for like half a block and then just stop in front of somebody's house and pick up another block down the street. It's terrible.
That's where the candy is.
Yeah.
That's when you're supposed to jump really high and go to the... Nah.
So I've seen your experience, and kudos to you for it.
Thank you.
And I'm curious to know what quantum anomaly... I do that every...
Oh, man, it's
quantum
okay. What is quantum anomaly doing?
That's what I'm saying.
Quantum anomana?
It's just a broken part of my brain, and it just won't accept that language.
It's a purposefully broken piece.
QA. Hey, QA.
There you go. You could always use that.
What was your experience last week on Steam It?
So... Like I kind of mentioned to you earlier, last week was very it was very much so kind of introspective for me. I started out the week right after our last episode. I, went out and was surfing a bunch of content and commenting and getting into the chat room and stuff. And it was actually because of a conversation that you and I had post-podcast, where I talked about how I thought about doing kind of like, I curate music for my friends because I dig into the far depths of the internet to find, music that moves me. It's, it's not necessarily that it's, that I'm going super underground or whatever. I'm just looking for interesting tracks, and I have really specific tastes. And so one of the things that I talked about is possibly doing like, going through my favorites list and reviewing all of this music, right? And I kind of thought about that, and of course music reviews are everywhere, and I didn't feel like that really did the tracks justice, especially because one of the things that I experience when I listen to music is I am I have a really vivid imagination. I'm a really vivid visualizer. So, when a track really grips me, not only do I, get the goosebumps, but I actually envision something happening. There's always a story. And so I figured that what I would do is, especially there's a few really particular tracks that are, really important to me or have very specific stories. I figured I'd start sharing these short stories that I see in my mind and try to write it in like 1,000 words or less. There are a few people that have seen some of my prior writings, and I am not 1,000 words or less guy. I write when I write, I go full force, and I write like 30 to 60 pages. So 1,000 words is hard for me. So I decided I wanted to write it in as many words as it took for like an average / fast reader to listen to the song. And so I would download the track and play it on loop and write out the story in my brain. And I call those story tracks, just kind of a working title for now. And I'm sharing, the sci-fi, fantasy. There's some, I've already got kind of a list of tracks that I want to do. Some are a lot calmer. I don't listen just to EDM and breakbeat, which is kind of what I've posted so far. There's actually a lot of instrumental tracks that I listen to, and they all have these, wildly different stories. And I hope to be able to express those. So that was kind of the big enlightening piece for me. I also wrote a post on, my own struggle with anxiety, just kind of a brief post on that. But again, it's all been very introspective, and it's been bringing me back to writing, which is something that I have constantly had this little voice in the back of my head saying, you need to write stuff, like, hey, you should write a book or something. And I've ignored that voice for a long time.
Well, and what was it about Steam It that necessarily made you pay attention to that voice?
I think it was, to be honest, it was kind of like, we mentioned last week, like the AOL 3.0 chat room experience. I think a lot of it is just it's such a combination of things. So part of it is the, mild anonymity where like, I'm not super, you can find who I am, no big deal, but it's a little bit of the anonymous wall, but I'm not holding myself up to be fake. It's just kind of that separation of myself versus my online self and what I choose to portray online. I think
we've talked about that.
Yeah,
before.
and I think the other part of it is, the fact that the community is a lot richer. The community is a lot more honest and vulnerable, and that allows me to be more vulnerable. And it's just I'm seeing all of this great content, and there's, so I'm starting to try and format my blogs in the way that I see. I've got a couple of favorite bloggers from websites of past where, I go and look at their posts and I'm like, I really enjoyed that format. It wasn't necessarily, as much about the content. It was the way they formatted their posts. And so now I'm trying to emulate that some.
Sure.
It's just, I don't know. I think all around, it's just seeing the inspiration of others is what is inspiring me. That everybody else is getting inspired. Everybody else is being creative and kind of reaching into themselves and pulling out their best. And that makes me be like, I can't just, screw around. I should reach into myself and pull out my best too.
And that's interesting to me because just from like, let's say a business standpoint or a managerial standpoint, I've always felt like, and I say this, that you cannot make somebody succeed. You can't do it. But you certainly can produce an environment in which they will succeed, or at least given the choice, they will succeed.
Well, and lead by doing is a huge thing that I live by. Is like if you want, if it's a lot easier, at least when I had a bunch of roommates, If you wanted all your roommates to help you clean the house, the best way to do it would just be to start cleaning the house. And anybody that was playing Xbox or screwing around or doing nothing, you generate that guilt within them. And I don't know if that's maybe, you know, a terrible way to think about it, or maybe just too direct a way to say it, but it got the job done. And it was a lot better than just being like, dude, guys, come on, can you help me clean the house? Like, and then everybody's like, no, screw you. And if I clean the kitchen, at least the kitchen's going to get clean. And if I'm cleaning the kitchen, maybe somebody will pick up an empty beer bottle.
Well, it's interesting because you had said before, just as far as like you're being honest and how Steam It is a place where like people are vulnerable. We've talked about that. It's interesting to me that we're talking about the internet where generally everybody's guard is on high for scams
or
and trolls.
Everyone's a lie.
Exactly. whatever fakeness you stumble across. But here's a place where the community itself is vulnerable just based on the format of the way that the website is set up, and in which case that is producing more honesty. That's interesting to me. I don't know that if I would have tried to guess that happening, that would have been my guess.
Well, I mean, and whenever you go to post anything in general, I mean, like you were saying, you know, it's just do it. If you just do it, you know.
I did kind of forget. I wrote a whole post that was supposed to be like 3 minutes of me writing, where I was just like, I have to write today.
Did I sound like Shia LaBeouf for a second? Just do it. Just do it.
And that's why I ended that post with that, because it really came off that way. But it was.
There was something Jazzy Fish she tells me this all the time too, and she's always been she mentions this whenever we were talking about working out before I finally started working out,
right?
And she said it to me again after I started doing it, and she's trying to tell me you need to do it first thing in the morning, right when you wake up. You just need to. And she went by this saying where she was like, you know, you got to keep in mind she's from Arkansas, so she's got some kind of backwoods sayings. But I know. She's like, there's this old saying: if you eat a toad first thing in the morning, it's going to be the hardest thing you do all day long. You know,
that's genius.
It is genius. Have you ever ate a toad?
I can't say that I have.
Can't either. I don't want to do that shit.
Maybe that's. I've ate gator. Maybe that's why everything's hard in my life. So I'm not eating enough.
Start the morning with a toad.
So, aside from all the toads and the vulnerability, that was
most of my week. I would say there were a couple of other minor experiences, some stuff that I don't want to announce too largely yet, but I think there may be a collaborative writing project in the works.
Beautiful.
You know who you are.
I hope that happens.
We'll see if it happens. It happens.
Yeah. So we'll do the sound of a toad up boat later, I guess. And what was your experience this weekend or this past week on Steam at Psycho Chica?
One of the things that kind of hit me out of nowhere, just got like a $10 Steam donation, like Steam dollar donation from someone I hadn't interacted with.
Nice.
You know, they were kind of one of those nice people, just kind of go around and see, you know.
What was their name?
It's motivational, isn't it?
I'd have to look it up. I don't have. You can find it in my wallet.
Yeah.
Well, not even the financial.
I had another one. Yeah, it's not even just the money. It was just kind of that, you know, wow out of nowhere, because it's, you know, I don't go asking for money. I just.
It's when somebody walks up and hands you a thank you card.
Yeah, it was just kind of flooring.
Or a $10 bill.
Or 1,000th of a cent, so you can try to bribe some whales to upvote your thing.
Don't at all.
But I mean, it was nice just being on that receiving end, and I didn't want to just pocket that money. I mean, the whole point out of all of this is to, you know, kind of make it a good win-win for everyone, and I wanted it to go towards a little more impact. So it actually ended up going into a little Steamtopia contest, you know, just kind of give your idea of what Utopia is, and then kind of a good, impactful cause. And I actually paid out those winners earlier today. And it was just kind of nice to go full circle of just kind of having that rush of, whoa, someone just did this for me, and then being able to kind of pay it forward and you know, kind of give back a little bit too.
Yeah, user's name was Arcurus.
Yep.
That's the one. You were right.
Well, and we talked a little bit before the show, but, you know, Steamtopia is kind of becoming, you know, your embodiment, or at least it's taking, you know, kind of a will of its own, if you will, and it's definitely evolving into something that, you know, it's really nice to see you producing that, and I know I haven't been really involved with it, but I've definitely been reading and keeping up with your content, and I'm starting to enjoy where it's going. It's definitely starting to gain a little bit of a life of its own there.
It's fascinating.
It's picking up a little bit. Sometimes it's just kind of, you know, here's my general take on something, and I'm all up for, you know, having people poke holes in things. That's how I get better. I've actually kind of been slowing down a little bit of maybe posting one a day sort of thing, and actually spending a lot more time reading other people's things that are in that similar area. I think I kind of went through that first little rush of, okay, I've kind of put out what I feel like I want to put out for now, and so it's going to still continue, but I'm also kind of, I don't know, going down rabbit holes now.
No, keep it going. I want to see how it evolves.
I think this is probably a good format or a good place to do that.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I've started spending a little more time in like the anarchism areas of things. I just kind of put up a general question post in an article the other day about a town in the Netherlands. I believe it was Ulbrecht. I'm sure I butchered the name, but it's an experiment that they're doing where they're offering the equivalent of $1,100 a month to people that had already been on have been and still were up to this point on government benefits or welfare sort of thing. Instead, it's here's $1,100 a month.
So kind of a universal income sort of thing.
It's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
A universal basic
income,
income in that sense for this small number of people.
A really small scale and a really small number of people.
Well, and at the same time, economically, it's a much more feasible thing considering you were already going through all of the oversight, bureaucracy, and actually moving of money to give it to these people.
Right.
That in the U.S., you can only imagine how much that costs. So, it's one of those, it's a very interesting step to see where it goes. And they're also kind of tweaking it to see where the motivation is. So it's, here's $1,100 for you. Certain groups were still keeping their old benefits. And then others that were getting new could work volunteer jobs throughout the month and get like an additional $170 or so a month, just to kind of see what are people motivated to do. A lot of the naysayers tend to, go into, everyone will be lazy and do nothing, and I'm sure there'll be some of that.
I don't know, when you tie it to volunteer work, all of a sudden that I could see that being a huge motivation just for a few extra bucks. You could take a volunteer job picking up trash on the highway or work in a soup kitchen, wherever the help is needed.
It just ties in so nicely as to like the win-win that you kind of see in Steemit in building that community and trying to find something that is useful for everybody, even if not ideal for anybody. But it's one of those I'd much rather have.
Well, useful's a step in the right direction of ideal.
Absolutely.
Form follows function.
You see it in my posts quite often. Of it's not about being right; it's about being better. I think that's kind of an important step for anything.
Oh yeah, I always say that I either win or I learn. I never lose. I either win or I learn.
That's a good way to do it.
I don't always hold myself to that, but I try.
That actually I was, as you were talking, it reminded me of a thread I just saw that was just posted 10 hours ago. So this was actually posted a little earlier today by Caliber 24P. And I would actually be really interested, Psycho Chica, as to what your feedback is for this particular thread. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but the title is "Right Now, Are We Living in the Happiest Time of Our Lives?" And basically what it talks about is, here, I'll just go ahead and read the first paragraph. When you read the biographies of early tech entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley who ended up becoming rich and famous beyond their wildest dreams, they often all say something similar, which is that they all say along the lines of, the time in my life when I was struggling, poor, working in my garage was the happiest time of my life.
Huh.
And he just the rest of the post is really interesting, and I went ahead and kind of made a response to that. Let me see if I can scroll down to it really quick here, which basically talked about how it's almost like there was actually an article or something not very long ago where it basically talked about how human beings in general, no matter how much they seek happiness, never truly find it, even whenever they achieve the thing they think that's going to bring them happiness.
Well, that's because those people are probably basing it on a materialistic goal, and that's why once they've achieved that goal, that materialistic thing where they've got money,
shifting. Even if it's not a materialistic goal, even if it's with an artistic goal or whatever, like I want to be able to draw portraits of people, you end up with shifting goalposts.
Well, and think of it in this sense of there's the abstract or conscious sort of things as far as what you think you want and everything. that's very different than that in the moment of, yes, I'm doing what I want to be doing. I'm going with the flow. And there's actually quite a bit of psychology that's out there.
The ego doesn't really know what it wants.
Well,
it's a constant grass is greener syndrome.
Well,
you're either experiencing or you're thinking. You really can't do both.
I mean, I agree with that. I think that it's in, as fast as your mind can perceive whatever signals it takes in this second, or this millisecond. I mean, to me, it's cliche, but happiness is a choice. And if nothing else, I look at that as like physiologically, like what is happiness? Well, that is just chemicals in your brain that are interacting with neurons in your brain that are telling you are happy, or you identified as you being happy versus whatever other state you could be in. So things cause that. When you have a surprise party, that's a happy thing. When you win the lottery, that's a happy thing. But at the same time, those are reactions to the choice that you're making, that winning that lottery was a good thing, and here's all the beneficial things that'll come behind it, and boy, all your stress just got erased because of this money that was handed to you, and so therefore your brain starts firing those chemicals. Again,
I'm
that's
sorry,
a choice.
But surprise parties are terrifying.
Surprise clown party.
Well, and another point I wanted to make about that too is that a lot of times especially people who suffer from anxiety, like chronic anxiety, unexplainable anxiety, even if they reach that particular milestone where they like you said, they drew a portrait of somebody absolutely famous that they would never be able to get another chance to do something like that again or whatever, and as long as they're constantly being bombarded with this feeling of anxiety, it's always almost like a need to escape that immediate situation where the anxiety exists. So even if you're surrounded by absolute happiness, if you've got anything negative hanging over you or anxiety or anything like that, you're going to want to escape from that to find something better. It's like you bring this negativity with you that fades the green in that grass that you saw before you got there.
Okay.
Well, think of the concept of kids at play. There's kind of that pureness there before other concerns and things. It's interesting when you kind of ask the question of, well, how did we lose that? Or have we refined it into a different set of play as far as that, contentness or happiness or things like that?
I think it's, and this just may be me, but I think it's almost like this societal expectation that everybody needs to put the toys away.
I don't know. I think that everybody forgets that we're still all playing pretend. like we're just pretending that our names are what they are. We're pretending money has value. We're pretending that we have to, do any of these things. We're pretending that these rules are rigid, and they're not. We agree upon them because that's kind of the foundation of a functioning society, but it's still pretend.
Well, and we're talking emotions and reactions. Right. We're not talking about the fact that we're on a rock hurling through space around a big fireball nuclear furnace that's also hurling through space, and at any time anything could go awry, and everything we talk about on these podcasts will seem very, very trivial in a blink of an eye.
I don't have to even believe you three exist. You're just figments of my imagination.
That's true.
Who are you?
What?
I'm a really amusing figment, all right?
You're a very loud figment, I'll say that.
I do what I can.
Yeah.
So we've all gone through our weeks. Gifted Gaia, what has been your experience on Steam in this last week?
My experience has been I've done a lot of lurking. Like I said earlier, I haven't really been posting much.
Post more.
Well, I it comes in bursts of inspiration, and I love to write, and just writing my introduction post seemed like therapeutic in some senses, just as far as like putting your identity into words in a manner that you can share with other people and have it be some kind of semblance of what you actually are. As far as this week goes, though, I haven't had a lot of that. I mean, to be blunt honest, it was the first anniversary of one of my best friends passing away, and I kind of forgot about that, and then all of a sudden there it is, and so it kind of threw me off my creative track for a little bit. The few things I did post were just like 3 or 4 things. I think I posted like 2 of my drone shots. One of them was a sunset. The other one was just a day in the park, where the sun was kind of hitting this great angle behind these clouds. I'm totally into the drone photography. It's therapeutic, and you never know what you're going to get. Like, I went out and did a sunrise video the other day. It's the first time I actually got up early enough to go do that, and my timing was off, and I missed it by I got the sunrise, but I didn't get the shot I wanted, and I realized had I been out there 10 minutes later, it would have been perfect. So it's kind of having that learning experience as I go.
Well, I was sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you can tell by watching your videos when you capture something that you intended to capture you can you can tell by watching it going, oh, that was cool.
Oh, yeah.
It's therapy. I mean, I know for you it's therapeutic to capture and to get that thing up in the air and to fly it around a little bit and look around. It's, as a viewer, it's therapeutic on my end too. It's just cool to watch and just go, oh, that looks awesome.
No, that's kind words. I mean, it is therapeutic, and I think that if I'm to put that into terms any other way, it's just what we talked about a second ago as far as being on a rock hurling through space. I mean, it just kind of reminds you of the insignificance of everything else when you see like a sunset way up high in this vast swath of miles of green land behind these pastel skies or below these pastel skies. It reminds you to just kind of chill out for a little bit. So in the model of the week that I had, that's kind of what went on Steam It. And I said that in my introduction post, that I felt like part of the things that I was going to contribute to the community would be specifically like the drone photography and then some of my music that I do. So the other thing is I got this sweet little micro quad, and I just posted like one little picture of it on Steam It in my hand. It's about the size of maybe $50, and that thing is so fun. I wish the video was better. I might try to throw some video up on Steam It just to show people what it is.
Now, even though you're looking at me while you're talking about it, I know full and well what that thing is, because you almost buzzed my hair right as I walked in the door with the thing.
Well, yeah, you walked into the no-fly zone. What can I say?
Yeah.
I'm the cleared pilot, sir.
So I know, and again, we kind of mentioned a little bit, some before where we'd kind of flip-flopped roles, but do you feel like your time in Steam It has been introspective for you in a different way, where you've been so, I don't know, for lack of a better term, like socially networked, like extrovert, where you've been very expressive online, and that Steam It maybe has caused you to be reflective in a different way?
It's how do I word this? I feel like I've been the guy that's been doing all the content on Facebook, and it's become a job. And it's a job that I think other people were getting benefit from, and so I'm grateful to take that role just in the model of it's good to help people.
Right.
And at the same time, it kind of lost its meaning to me at some point. Like, yeah, I still see something really cool, and it moves me in whatever way it does, but at the same time, I don't feel like I'm surrounded in a community of people that are on that level where they're trying to do things to help people. Like, where I was on social media prior to Steam, and it really felt like just a place to vent, or... for whatever negative things you could say about those other platforms. Excuse me, we don't have to go down that road. What Steam It has been for me has been, and I said this last week, it's a place I can go where I feel like I'm among all those people, like all those positive people, original content, people pouring their heart and soul out in a very vulnerable and honest and impassioned way. And in that model, I don't have to contribute as much. I can just kind of be in good company and soak it all in. And that's really what I've found. The few times I've gone back to my other social medias and just kind of looked at it, I'm just like, holy cow. And I see it so clearly now for what it is, because I've seen something better. I have that perspective now. It sounds like an infomercial, and that's not necessarily.
No, it's hard because it does sound like it does feel like a sales pitch or a too good to be true. I definitely feel kind of dirty every time I go back to the website that shall not be named.
Well, and I say that as somebody that hasn't really been paid for anything. I mean, and I'm not there for that. It's nice to be in good company. Is
right.
The way I look
yeah,
at it.
Absolutely. Well, and I just even the other day, whenever I was signing back into, as you both were putting it, that other social media network that we shall not name, Facebook. And whenever I sign back on anymore, I feel my blood pressure go up. Just looking around, looking at the trending topics and things like that. I'm like,
well, and if it's not blood pressure, it's depression.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's one or the other. It's either I want to strangle somebody or I just like feel horrible.
It's somebody's complaint or somebody's reposting of an awful news story that's been spread around. It's just like, why am I looking at this?
Or something I saw a week ago on Imager.
There's something. Wow.
Well, and there's, to kind of come full circle here, I think that when we're talking about social media platforms and what Steam It is versus other places we've all been, one of the things we actually got back from a reader was Steam It QA, and it was in reference to a post that Winston Wolfe had put up prior to this podcast saying, hey, we're doing a podcast. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and ask us. And so we actually did get a question, and I think that I'm going to reference it here. And the question was, do you think Steam It is a really good social media platform because it isn't for people doing updates, so to speak? So it raises the question of what is Steam It? Well, we asked that last week. What is Steam It meant to you? What is it? But I think the key here, the good part of this question that I want to touch on and just get you guys' feedback on is, is it really a social media platform? Because it's not social in the sense that I can communicate with a lot of other people other than outside of a comment, versus this is actually a blog where I think somebody else had put a comment prior. Was it Jadu or something? I'm not sure the username.
I swear I'm gonna butcher this.
Jedeu, Jadao is how I think.
AU.
Pronunciation is hard. That's why
Jadao.
we always tag people and say thank you for
Well, I guess
your...
there's not an X there, so.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Jedau. Yeah.
I think that person, oh shoot, I lost my train of thought. That person had a comment that was reference to what I was going to say, but in reference to it being a social media platform, how is that different than the other social media platforms? Not because of the payout structure, not because of the community that's there, but
I think it's because of exactly the way the question was phrased, because it's not an update. It's not 140 characters or less. It is... instead of, and I mean, know that Facebook doesn't have character limit or whatever, but it generally is really short comments. Here's a picture of my dinner, and here's what I think about it, and I'm a victim of that as well. But I think that it's your update is your blog. It is describe in depth. It's just this conversation. How has it affected your life? What does it mean to you today? What has it brought out of you? Like describe in great detail. How has it changed you and what does it make you feel? And I think that makes it more than a social platform. I think that makes it like an emotional platform.
Well, and a big piece that goes along with that is if you think about what it takes to make a Facebook post versus a post on Steemit, as far as original content, bring something to the table, it requires some analysis. You can't just put a link over here and expect to get it upvoted. We've talked about that. Right. But again, think of the difference as far as if you're going to post something, you have to actually have something to say.
Right.
Or at least add to it.
Facebook will not limit you 4 posts per day before punishing you either.
That's really true. And it won't limit your upvotes either.
So it's watered down just based on the sheer volume. You can blast through 100 posts and like 99 of them versus you only get this many.
I think it's not how much you blast through. I think it's how much it matters.
Well, and think about this too. If you have an unlimited number of posts you can make per day, you're going to blast every single little 1, 2, 3 worded thought. And think about this too. If you're not going to get punished until after you post 4, and essentially that's what it means is you can only post 4 before you start getting anything taken away. So anybody who has a half a brain is going to keep it at 4 or less. And they're going to really think about those 4.
Well, and that's the point that I was going to go for, which is that I don't think I ever posted more than maybe 3 times a week on Facebook, most weeks, unless something really crazy was happening. But I still didn't care about my posts.
Right.
But on Steemic, I'm posting, maybe 4 or 5 times a week. I'm not posting every single day. I'm trying to get there. But I definitely care a lot more before I click that submit button.
Right. Even about the formatting.
Even if I know it's my only post of the day, I have 3 more posts. I could screw this one and 2 more up and still be able to get a good one out.
Totally.
It's a crazy world. You have 3 more posts. I feel like, aside from just what you had said, the other thing that we kind of referenced earlier, but then again is relevant here, is on Facebook or other social media sites, you have an edit and a delete button. And boy, howdy, you can't do that on Steemit.
Yeah,
so
no, it's
all
in
of
the
a sudden,
blockchain forever.
Yeah.
Okay, true, yes. But as far as what is actually publicly visible, without looking at the blockchain to see every single edit version that you made, you can edit to your heart's delight until payout. After payout, it's locked in. You can't change anything.
But if you post something, let's say, by example, in the hypothetical of maybe in the marijuana thread, and then 3 years later, Steemit's still going, and you go to get a job, and your boss goes and looks at your profile, that can't be hidden, deleted, or edited at this point. Once
anybody
the
using
happens.
their real name as their username and doing that, that's kind of their own fault.
I'm saying that in the hypothetical that somebody were to do that, even if the boss, obviously the boss would have to find it for this to play out accurately, but in Facebook, you could go back and delete that.
True.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth there. Being, somebody who's married to a teacher who went through, and not that there was anything that extreme there, but just going through and cleaning up everything about their profile, including the things that other people posted about them. You can hide or delete or request deletion on.
Or just getting tagged in some random
you can
nonsense.
remove tags and
God.
do all of that stuff. So
I can't tell you how many times just in probably in the first 4 years especially that I was on Facebook, there were people dumb enough who I had loose associations with to ask and say stupid things on their public walls publicly. And it's like, I'm not going to be a friend of yours on here anymore.
I'm not associated with you.
Well, and I feel that you had the option to delete in that sense. So
Right.
Steam it presents it in a manner that, aside from you being honest, like, I don't know, I just feel like there's, again, that vulnerability there. Like, you have to make it right. You have to pause and make sure it's the right thing to put up, or good conversation, or something that you're not concerned about to be seen later down the road. Or maybe you would be, I don't know. It's just a hypothetical. So, okay, yeah, so that's pretty much what my experiences were in the past week.
Good week.
And, again, that was a good question from Steemit QA. As far as the Steemit social media platform, it's kind of what we touched on last week, and at the same time, I think it took it a little further. So I was happy for that. Okay, so does anybody have any unseen Steam from this past week? Something that you saw that probably didn't garnish a lot of attention, and yet here we are on a podcast. Let's talk about it.
I don't see how bourbon bacon did not get as. I think that a lot more people should have. And if you viewed that and you didn't upvote, then shame on you.
At Cryptic is the author for
at
that
Cryptic, you know,
one. With a K.
And it,
So for the people that didn't view it, go ahead and give me the breakdown.
a significant post of an in-depth description / tutorial with fine pictures and kittens and results of a bourbon infused bacon, and
It looks absolutely delicious.
yeah, no, it's I haven't made it yet.
Kitten bacon?
Yeah, kitten bacon.
Delicious.
But I haven't made it yet, but I do actually plan on it, and it's one of those things where I feel like to do it justice, I'm gonna have to like make an entire blog post of me walking through his tutorial, but I feel like afraid that like that man deserves far more upvotes for his time and effort in going through, and not only wherever he learned that recipe that is deserving in and of itself, but he put in a lot of effort to really take, step-by-step shots, to do it as a DIY, to inject some comedy, to make it, his own thing, or her own, and put it out there for everyone.
Pretty sure it's a him.
Yeah,
I think. I'm sorry, Cryptic, if I'm not correct on that, but you come across as a he. Sorry, you do. Just it's the way you chat, and it's the way you drunk chat. Actually,
Yeah, that's very true.
The truth comes out.
Yup. You can't hide it. You can't hide it when you're drunk.
Well, we better make it easy and say actually one more time. Is
Actually.
that the game tonight?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, actually, yes. That's yes. Now, speaking of that, I was actually thinking. I've noticed that a lot of people have this weird sort of, deterrent towards, bacon flavored alcohol in general. I'm fascinated by the idea.
What are we doing?
No, seriously. No,
I actually don't like bacon flavoring in my everything. However, I like just about anything flavoring on my bacon.
yes,
That
absolutely.
belongs on a bumper sticker.
It does.
Or a t-shirt. One of the two.
That's
It belongs on the side of a bus.
Because there was like, I don't know,
That's the deepest thing I've heard all week.
like 4 or 5 years ago, there was like bacon flavored Mentos and
What?
like
What?
Yeah, no, it was gum, everything, every bacon flavored soap.
There
Like,
is-
I don't want soap flavored bacon for sure.
Who's eating their soap?
Well, okay.
What's going
now,
on here?
It's
somebody who wants to smell like bacon, I guess.
I
but
don't know.
now,
Why
one
don't
thing
they
I
just
will
eat
say
some
is that
damn bacon.
But it wasn't even bacon flavored. Let's be real. It was liquid smoke flavored. Anyway.
well, no, it's fine. There was bacon vodka that came out probably 5 or 6 years ago, and everybody's like, "Oh God, I don't know about that." But no, here's my theory. That
sounds terrible.
A Bloody Mary would turn into a freaking BLT with bacon flavored vodka. That sounds delicious.
For those who like the Bloody Marys.
As a meatitarian, I'm not.
Delicious.
Well, I guess that settles that then.
Yeah, it's hard to come back from that. I don't like Bloody Marys personally. So
I love Bloody Marys. Oh
man,
my God.
I'm not big
Would
into
you-
tomatoes. And
So
that's
then
what it is.
stir it with a piece of bacon.
You know what goes good on the side with a Bloody Mary? There's this stuff called rum chata. Have you ever tried that?
I've never even heard of it.
Oh, it's good.
It's yeah.
Apparently, it is.
God kind of walked through the room unannounced all of a sudden.
Yeah, so not a big fan of the Bloody Marys.
So one thing I wanted to at least kind of bring up, on the show was there's without getting too in depth, there's basically been kind of that ongoing question as far as like objectification of women and things like that. I don't want to necessarily delve into that, but the bottom
Steam
line,
girls. Oh.
well, the bottom line out of all of it is you can have your views, but when you start, either getting, nasty, hateful, things like that, it's no longer this, the conversation or the logic that's going on. It's just completely unhelpful. There's just, most people have been great about it. But yeah, I
have seen a few conversations where the flags are starting to get thrown around on comments that are not really flag worthy. Like, to me, a flag is like vulgar, obscene, unnecessarily
abuse,
antagonistic abuse. Exactly.
Trolling.
And because a flag like grays out the comment, somebody who is articulating themselves really well in a debate and they get their comment downvoted, it grays out their well thought out, articulated, response.
There was somebody in my was it yesterday's workout video? I think it was. Luke Stokes keeps coming up in this podcast a lot. He's probably one of the more positive forces, and with a pretty decent amount of power, I might add. I think he's like a 63 or a 64. But anyway, somebody was commenting with him. I need to look up his name. We'll probably end up referring to him and tagging him in the post, nevertheless. But he was suddenly getting flag attacked by somebody. I don't remember who it was just going through, just flagging all of his stuff and anything that he commented on, replied to, that this person wasn't even involved in. And Luke was trying to talk to the guy like, hey, you realize you're hurting the community by doing this,
right?
You're not. This isn't Reddit. You don't just go.
Yeah, the downvote it has meaning here.
Right, exactly. And the person who, by the way, posts everything in Russian, I guess, he had to translate a lot of what he said from Russian to English. And the guy was like, oh, don't worry, it's just a test. I don't know, this guy reeks of spammer, troll,
right,
whatever. So this person, I don't know who it is, but it almost feels like a fake account going around specifically to downvote a whole bunch of people.
Well, it's kind of an interesting point to me to think that somebody like that with that behavior on, let's say, Reddit might not be noticed. On Facebook, it's going to blend in pretty well. But over here, it's noticeable because you don't see that because everybody else is on the flip side of that coin.
Exactly. It's almost like the population of Steemit is Steemit's own immune system, and when they see a foreign infection or something, it's like everybody swarms on it. Like, what are you doing? Stop doing that. You're hurting us.
Huh.
You are literally cancer. Stop being cancer.
Right.
And so often I hear when people are getting, the responses from the community along those lines, you always hear them scream, I'm being censored. I'm sorry, but no, there's a difference between being censored in free speech and just, like you're saying, being a troll, being a cancer.
You can have your free speech, but you can't not have the consequences for it.
Okay, here's the thing, is if anybody is being censored, it's by the will of the public, not by any one person.
Exactly.
Well, and the leveling of it's not even censoring, it's just
it's everybody saying shut the hell up.
It's punishment.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And it's one thing that you can stand in front of a crowd of people who are telling you to shut up and still speak your mind and still have something significant to say. And I'm not to say that the will of the people is always right, but it is also the right of the people to be able to denounce such content. So
yeah.
Well, I caught this thing, and I'm gonna try to keep this as short as possible because I feel like I went on a rant last week. But I again will end up either contributing or hanging out in the music or the photography, inspirational kind of Steam zones. And in the music one, I found this video, and it's by user Sarah Jordan, and the title of this, and we'll tag it, is "This hot nerdy guy covering Notorious B.I.G. Big Papa on guitar will melt your freaking heart." And so I look at this post, and again, catchy title, and so I'm like, yeah, fine, I'll look at this. And I click on it, and it's basically this guy who, I mean, just to give you a general, just random descriptor, if I had to do so, it's like somebody that probably does not listen to hip-hop, somebody that probably does not own a Notorious B.I.G. album, but he's playing his acoustic guitar, and he's basically singing this song, this Big Papa song, but he's making it his own. It's very much not a cover song of that song, even though it absolutely is. And I'm not even saying it's really good or moving or thought-provoking like the Unseen Steam It that I saw last weekend was, where it really kind of took me down the rabbit hole. What touched me about this is exactly what Sarah said in the title, and that was, it will melt your freaking heart. And I guess what melted my heart about it was seeing somebody that took something completely original. And if you actually go to YouTube, I think this only had like 230 views. So I'm not sure if Sarah is part of the person that was in the room that filmed it, or if this is a friend of hers, or if this is just some random shared content that was found on the internet and put onto Steam It. But it's definitely something that hasn't taken off yet, virally speaking. And it's just somebody really kind of doing their thing. It's just bearing their soul in a little bit, and it's original. And I felt like, as far as, even if it is shared content, as far as like what we're looking at for Steam It to be, as far as a place of just original, vulnerable content, it was perfect. It was the perfect share, in my opinion, and we're going to link it. I mean, I really liked this one. Again, I'm not saying it's great. I'm not downloading the MP3 and playing it on my car tomorrow on my drive to work, but it's just kind of one of those things that I felt was perfect for Steam It.
So I just wanted to ask, what did you guys do while Steam It chat was down earlier in the week?
I panicked. The entire time I panicked.
Well, we have a fallback plan.
We do have a fallback plan. Blah, 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 blah.
I feel like, and that's a good thing to reference, because we, I think 3 of us at the table out of the 4 come from a kind of a video gaming background. And, of course, there's been multiple chats throughout the years that have just cycled. And one of the biggest ones now that it seems like everybody is in, and that I'm definitely in, is one called Discord. And for those Steam It users who have not been familiar with Discord or the gaming side of things, it's basically just a place that you can go and voice chat. There's also kind of this running, you can have different rooms, and there's kind of a running blog that's going on, or just a general chat type thing. And so when Steam It chat went down, that's where I just was chilling. And there's a couple of us in there. All of us from the podcast are in there. And I think it's a good place to go, as opposed to being in a room with just everybody that's in the Steam It chat.
Right.
For anybody that really wants to get in there and have conversations with us outside the podcast, that's where we are. And feel free to jump in there. You can set up a push-to-talk key and just actually have conversations with us, just depending on our day-to-day. We're usually in there after work talking to each other, and it's a good alternative for when that Steam It chat goes down.
Like good hot mic conversation,
Yeah,
not
but
just
don't
keyboard.
mind me when I'm playing No Man's Sky or anything else.
I know. That's part of why I end up doing the voice chat more often, especially during the day with you guys. It's really hard to be getting your posts together while bouncing back and forth between windows of chat
Right,
and
no,
chat.
alt-tabbing just becomes a real pain.
That's one of the other just pluses of Discord, is you can actually just be listening while I'm actually doing what I'm doing during my day.
I'm not much of a gamer at all, and I think I'm the 25% of the table here who does not do gaming. I don't do much gaming, but I enjoy Discord. It's really cool. I mean, just as a communication device as itself, without even all the gaming, I think it's awesome.
Well, and we put up like our post promotion room in there, and just cool links.
Yeah, we're trying to build that. So if you come into Discord, the way that works is we can send you an invite to Discord, and you have to download the program. And then once you get our invite, you can get into the Steam It room, and it's easy. It's named Steam It. We have different channels set up where one of them is a self-post promotion, and that means if you have a post that you want to promote, as opposed to dropping it in Steam It chat where it's going to get lost in the wash of however many hundreds of people are in there, you can dump it in our Discord thing, and it'll be more of a targeted audience. Specifically, obviously, we want the people in there that are having good conversations. I know that we have one user in there by the name of Illuminati, and it's fun talking. It's just nice kind of talking to people.
Well, and expect more, more personal, instead of just like a comment or a reply. You know, sometimes I definitely feel bad trying to give people constructive criticism in a reply, but on the forum, I definitely in Discord rather, I don't have any issue getting on voice comms or even in the chat in there and just being like, you went through it with me on a couple of my posts. We're like, hey, post some more pictures, maybe curate your content a little better, maybe, change the wording on a certain paragraph. Or if you're working on a post and you want some feedback, like, hey, should I phrase it this way? Or what are some good hashtags to use? Getting involved pre-post with the community is that's what our Discord is for.
I just like the voice chat of it. So if anybody's interested that's listening, I mean, we just either put a comment in our blog post of this podcast and we will shoot you a 24-hour invite. I'd love to talk to people and interact with them. I think it'll help this podcast. It kind of builds on this whole community. And the more people we get in there, the more interesting conversations will come of it, and so I'm happy to have that.
Well, yeah,
option.
and if maybe you're just opposed to using the normal Steemit chat. Maybe you don't want to have to type everything out. Maybe you do want to talk Steemit while you play a video game or while you work on your post, and come in here and we'll offer that voice channel for you.
There you go.
Very cool.
Maybe even with effects. So
maybe not.
Did we get through all the?
Sad trombone.
Yes. Did we get through all the unseen Steemits? Was there anybody else that had anything to contribute to that?
I kept my eyes out, and I can't say that I didn't see anything I liked, because I liked a whole lot of stuff. But as far as anything that I thought would be good conversation, I'm lazy. I didn't write anything down. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Actually. Yeah.
No, I mean, and that does bring up a good point, though. Like, there's a lot of content that, does get plenty of upvotes, and it's very well seen. Everybody saw it on the trending page.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, types of that type of content that we can see, and not everything that's an unseen, thing really has that much to it. And maybe maybe you commented on it, maybe you even liked the post, but as far as being like groundbreaking, I think that's,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, absolutely, actually. I can't not say it. I just can't not absolutely. See, I can't not absolutely.
Yes.
Just a couple other options for finding different stuff. There is the Steemit forum. We'll post the URL.
Okay.
In the,
I haven't. I've tried to use that a little bit, but it's not a general forum. Like, basically, it's not a BB forum.
Isn't it Steemit QA is doing that?
Steemit QA built that. It's actually a pretty nice forum. It's got a bunch of categories. Have you seen this? This is the voting stream.
Oh, that's awesome. I have seen that.
It's like all the dolphins.
Yeah,
and whales.
I did. I mean, I saw some of that. I haven't. I'm so old school. I'm terrible when it comes to that. I want it like it used to be.
It's different
Get
things
off
to catch your
my
eye.
lawn.
That was loud.
It is a useful tool. I definitely agree to that. I also like using Steam Stats. Has had a few improvements too.
Well, and one thing I wanted to say too is that the 4 people that are sitting at this table, because of the way we do this podcast, we are guaranteed to look at a lot of stuff that isn't making money, and I know a lot of people target stuff that is making money.
Yep.
We are. That's one of the biggest things we want to make sure that everybody understands, is that the content of Steemit is exactly what fuels the content of this podcast. I mean, we talk about what we see. We like to try to bring light on
what
the things
interests
that,
us.
and what interests us. Yeah, I mean, the things that grab our attention.
The experiences that
Yeah.
come from it. I mean, again, we've talked ad nauseum about how the experiences on Facebook are not very pleasing. It doesn't leave us motivated. You
Right.
didn't start working out because of Facebook, Winston Wolfe. It was
No.
this other burst of inspiration that came from this other place.
So one thing that I want to propose to the community then is a question for you all is not just, what are you writing about, but how has Steemit changed you, like, mentally and physically? I'm genuinely interested to hear your stories.
That's a good question. What are you doing because of Steemit that you would not have otherwise done?
Yeah, that you've not done because of any other social network site.
I think that's a great question. I think that if anybody wants to leave any insights as to their answer, their take on that answer, please do so in the comments of the podcast. And hop in Discord and let's talk about that more, because there's probably a lot more ground we can cover vocally than trying to respond back and forth in comments and blog posts. So that's my advice.
So how do we earn Steemit for a vocal channel? That's the next step. Get on it. Get on it, guys.
It's open source. Somebody's going to do it.
I want it to judge my tone of voice and upvote me accordingly.
Yeah.
Actually,
There's a bot for this.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, actually, Steemit QA had been mentioning that he's working on trying to get the Steemit forum onto the blockchain. So activity
that's
that you actually
awesome.
do in there translates into the rewards as well.
Nice.
I think I remember something. Somebody was like, I can't wait for real-time chat upvoting and downvoting so that we can upvote comments. But
Imagine what happens to the
Oh my
person
God.
that pings all.
They're just obliterated.
well, all right. Well, anyway, thank everybody for tuning in.
Oh, thank you all so much.
Yes. We can't tell you how much we appreciate you guys listening in. Even if it's just 20 of you, you guys are our 20 favorite people right now.
It's the experience. I appreciate the organic conversations that we're getting out of this. And again, please keep commenting. That's kind of what gives us those topics to then bring up next time.
When these 4 people get together at a table and start talking, we will talk for hours. So we finally decided, you know what? We should just buy microphones. There's no reason why we can't record this stuff.
All the times when we wish we would have recorded this in the past, and here we are recording it, and it's because of you guys. Like there's because of the platform and because of the listeners, because of the accessibility, the options,
the inspiration.
Yeah, I think, again, like I said, it's more than the inspiration. I think the inspiration has been there forever. It's the drive.
Yeah.
It's the willingness to push through it and to put it out there and to be vulnerable and to give it to the community and to give back these conversations that we have to everyone else.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, Steam It listeners.
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you for tuning in and keep posting.
Thanks, everyone. I'm Gifted Gaia.
I'm Winston Wolf.
Quantum Anomaly.
Psycho Chica.
Thanks, Steam It. We'll see you next week.